Hey, Stephen Ed here doing the junkyard crawl at Bernardston Auto Wrecking in Bernardstown, Massachusetts with a 1975 Chrysler New Yorker Brougham. Now we'll notice this is a full-sized American car. It's a two-door, and look how big this thing is. Now here's the thing, 1975 was like the year after the infamous OPEC oil embargo, the Arab oil embargo. The whole thing was just a nightmare if you owned a big car or were trying to sell big cars to the American public. In fact, gasoline went from 39 cents a gallon to 59 cents a gallon kind of overnight, which doesn't sound like much today. In fact, 59 cents a gallon in today's dollars is about $3.12. But with that said, going from 39 to 59 is almost doubling, and from the bottom of the economy up, the ripple was felt. And big cars like this suddenly became very hard to sell because they only got maybe 14 miles to the gallon at the most. Now again, this is a Brougham, which makes it the top of the line New Yorker, and again, as a two-door, it's a pretty uncommon body. Sales on these cars were not strong. Now, the thing is, the standard engine in the Brougham was the T-code 440 4-barrel, which is 7.4 liters for all of you metric folks out there. And the punchline to that, or 7.2 liters. But with that said, there was actually for the first time, Chrysler offered a 400 2-barrel as a no-cost option if you wanted to shed 40 cubic inches and maybe pick up a mile per gallon or two. The 360 small block would also eventually work its way under the hood of these massive Chryslers. But again, in 1975, the 440 was still standard. Chrysler was gobsmacked by the changes in the world. But there was something good that came along for 1975, and that was the Cordoba. Okay, so here's the thing. The full-size Chrysler line we see right here on the top, and this Brougham is one of them. The Cordoba was the right-sized Chrysler, in fact downsized based on a B-body platform. Before we get into the Cordoba, let's explore the full-sized New Yorker. And here we have it right here. On the left, the New Yorker Brougham. In fact, in total, 26,039 were New Yorkers were built, but only 7,567 were two-doors, so the vast majority were four-door family cars. Now, base price on the two-door was $7,875, which is $2,295 more than a Cordoba. More on that in a second. But one thing that was interesting and new for 75 was the hydraulic bumpers. And I love these brochures. They give you a nice phantom view of all the details. And those two circles at the front, we can see right there, it says bumper impact absorption system, protecting the front and rear. There's little hydraulic ramps. We'll check those out in a second. But again, all the X-ray rear-wheel drive, of course. Single exhaust seen here. No catalytic converter yet, but that is a big block Mopar engine. There it is right there. Again, the 440 was standard equipment. And on the top right, there's that picture right there. The hydraulic bumper system absorbs minor impact. And that was a federal mandate. Basically, cars had to be able to withstand 5 miles per hour. And within 24 hours, looked like it never happened as that thing regained its composure. Kind of a weird deal. But getting back into the Chrysler Cordoba, the downsized, here it is right here. Now, we did a video on a 76 Cordoba, which had a 400 big block. The Cordoba never came with a 440, but yes, you could get a 400 in a Cordoba. And the whole thing about the Cordoba was it's a smaller car. You can see right there at the top, it says a matter of scale. Chrysler was fully aware that OPEC changed the entire picture. It says here, the wheelbase of the compact, quote unquote, 115 inch is 9 inches less than the standard full-size Chrysler, which is the larger gray shadow. So again, even though the Cordoba is a massive car by comparison to modern vehicles, it was considered a smaller vehicle. And again, there were sales on these things were really strong, 150,105, which really saved the day. By contrast, the full-size Chryslers, Newports, and New Yorkers were down 63%, selling just over 101,000 units. So again, this is the last of a dying breed, but the bigger picture here is the fact that this is the 440, and we know that because we see right here the initial sticker 440 right there, and we go to the trim tag and E85 there. That's not ethanol 85. That's the code for the 440 he code. D34 tells us the Cork Flight automatic, of course, no manual transmissions at this point in time. One thing I don't see here is the D91, which would tell us it had a shore grip. So this was ordered without a shore grip differential. Who cares anyway? But with that said, here's a 440 right here. I'm surprised it's still here. These things are excellent to yank and put into a Dodge Dart, or, to put a stroker crank from 440 source, make it into a 512. In fact, I have a 62 Dodge police car, Project Remcharge, supercharger, that this would be a very good engine if I didn't already have one. But with that said, the 440 in a massive car like this, it's strictly an American thing. Now, again, getting back to these hydraulic bumpers up front, we can see here the bumper's gone, but here is one of those rams right here. Now, this has been thoroughly tested. We can see this thing's been torn, but the hydraulic ram goes into the frame rail and basically allows the bumper to push in and then come back. And also here on the ends, these rubber things here are also designed to deform and then come back out after the impact. So again, it's all about saving face, literally the face of the car, and decreasing insurance expenses. The insurance industry was getting kind of mad, and they wanted to decrease the amount of money they were paying out. So they wanted cars that would heal themselves rather than be damaged in a low-speed impact. Disc brakes up front on this one here, and here it is here, the single piston caliper is seen on most Chrysler products right here. It's a big single piston in the back, cast iron monstrosity, reasonable brakes, I think about an 11.5-inch rotor. The rear brakes on this would be drums. However, the Imperial in this period of time did have an optional 4-wheel disc brake package, not seen on this one here. But again, that 2-door body, there it is right there, the Brougham. And this pillar is strictly cosmetic. Look at this. It doesn't have a fixed B-pillar. It's an interesting play on the idea of a hardtop or a sedan. I'm going to wonder what they were thinking. This is strictly, again, cosmetic. There's no beam inside of here. Interesting. The shoulder harness does locate to the roof. And again, the shoulder harness is a mandate after 1969 on all American cars. But big bench seat up front on this one. And the word Brougham appears on the passenger side there. And of course, that meant the Brougham vinyl top. And we notice here on this one, we can see the construction of it. Here's the outer vinyl. It was once blue and pliable. Rubber underneath it to give it that sort of plush pimp mobile vibe. And again, the steel roof underneath it all. But notice how the window plug, which is also covered in vinyl, is bondoed in place at the factory with plastic filler instead of lead. If this was a hardtop without paint, this without vinyl, this would be metal finished right here. This would be lead, but since there was a vinyl covering, Chrysler could cheap out and use a plastic filler like this stuff right here to seal in the facade of the Opera window right here. And again, Brougham here. And these wheels, by the way, the Chrysler New Yorkers were different from Imperials. New Yorkers in earlier years had a larger bolt pattern, I think with 5-on-5. These have the small-ish, well, the mid-size 5-on-4.5 seen on B-bodies, Chargers, Roadrunners, stuff like that. And even the Dodge Dart after 1973 had the same bolt pattern. So this wheel could be used on a Charger or even a Dodge Dart at this point in time. And this is the styled steel wheel. I believe S22 is the code. You could also get that wheel on Chargers and stuff. It gives a little extra look to the car. It would have had a trim ring and a center cone. Coming around the back, look how big this thing is. Again, this is a 6-passenger car, 3 and 3, but again, 440 cubic inches, only in America. You gotta love this thing. Now this one here has single exhaust, and again, we also see in the back, here are those rams. Look at this one here, the rust has pretty much defeated it, but this is the hydraulic ram inside of this. Gas and oil charged inside of this thing, still present and accounted for. Gas filler on this one would have been right here in the middle of the back, I think. Anyway, it's got, yeah, there we go. Fill her up, Jacko. Again, 59 cents a gallon. Somebody was undoubtedly whining about how expensive gas was getting when they stood right here at the back of this car when it was new in 1975. And again, 101,000 of these things were sold, which sounds like a good number, but again, it was down 63% versus 1974. Meanwhile, the Chrysler Cordoba, the smaller version of the luxurious Chrysler, sold 152,000 units, which is saving the day at Chrysler Corporation. Very profitable, the Cordoba. In fact, was sort of a take on the Monte Carlo and Grand Prix from Chevrolet and Pontiac, respectively. Inside, again, we see the plush leather and vinyl, it's vinyl, bench seat interior, split bench on this one here with a buddy bar in the middle right there, the fold-down armrest. And again, no 4-speeds, no manual transmissions in full-size Chryslers after like 1961, 2, 3, 4, as they became strictly luxury vehicles. But it's shocking to see that this B-pillar right here is not functional, doesn't do a damn thing. Interesting idea that this is basically a hardtop masquerading as a sedan. And that's the story of how 1975 Chrysler kind of set the stage for their own demise. We all know that by 1978, Chrysler Corporation was on the rocks. Lee Iacocca arrived in 79, I think it was. There was a government bailout for billions of dollars, and by 1984, 85, Chrysler was back in good graces because of the K car and the front-wheel drive thing, which was the polar opposite of land yachts like this 75 Chrysler New Yorker Brougham two-door. And again, only 7,000 and change of these two doors were built. The vast majority were more practical four doors. Well, if you like this video, be sure to subscribe to the Steve Maggs YouTube channel, ring the bell so you're aware of the next video comes out, which is tomorrow morning, and be sure to share this video with your friends and give it a like. We'll see you tomorrow.